So what's going on, Grimaldo? How you doing, man?
Good, good. Just checking the news of U.S. election, actually.
I'm telling you, man, the world is on edge, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true.
But it can all be solved with some good music, and I'm just so excited to talk to you about your musical journey in Novalima. I'm such a fan of you and the band, and man, so much I want to find out more.
Great.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me, what were the beginnings? I did do some, research, and it looks like you and a couple other core members, you guys got together. I mean, how did that happen?
I mean, we were friends since we were kids, actually. We actually had a few bands before, like heavy metal or punk bands, when we were like 50 years old. And then it got to a certain point of our lives that we went to live to other cities. I was actually living in Barcelona. Rafael, the other guy that started the band, was living in London. The third guy was in Hong Kong, Carlos, and the fourth guy was in Lima, Ramon. And basically, I mean, we moved and each of us started recording and producing music in their houses. It actually was a time when you could actually put together a home studio and do good quality music in your house. So basically, we started experimenting, just working on music, each of us, just to in an idea to just keep on doing music, because we didn't have any bands at the moment. I don't know why we got together now. We shared the stuff we were doing each other, and we liked it, and we decided, hey, why don't we put together a project and release these songs? No? So we actually shared them around and worked a little bit on each other's songs, and then we decided to put that together a album, the CD, and we actually produced ourselves like 2,000 copies or something like that, and started selling them in Lima, like to friends and in some stores, and sold them pretty fast. And we also started recording with some more live musicians, especially percussionists, Peruvian percussionists. And that's where we introduced a lot of Afro-Peruvian music that we have in our style. So we did a lot of live recordings of percussions and stuff, and then we kept on working like this as a studio project, basically, each of us on their home. And then we usually got together and mixed the album in London, in this case. So basically, our first two albums were like that. They were studio projects. We never had a live band. No, we were like working all around the world and sending files, sometimes through UPS or DHL, because the internet wasn't that fast in those times. But yeah, we worked like that for the first. And the second one, we actually got a record deal in London. And I remember once we signed a deal and the album was gonna come out, the label is like, hey guys, when are you starting a tour? And we're like, tour? I mean, we don't have a live band. We never played live, actually. So, and that's when we put together a live band.
Man, that what a story. So, you guys start off as, playing in a band together as teenagers, and then such as life, you kind of all go your different directions, but you keep
Yeah.
trading files, and then you have a meeting says get a record deal, and then the label's like, all right, time to hit the road.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, actually, when we thought that like the living of music and having a let's say touring band was over, because we thought as kids with all these bands that we would actually make it somewhere and have a record label or whatever. And when we thought it was over, actually it's when it started happening, and the first record deal I signed was in London on a sub label of Virgin Music. So actually I went to the Virgin Music building and signed my first record deal there. It was like, wow. Yeah, so it was pretty interesting because it's a project that we never actually planned it at all. It just came together because we shared the stuff we were doing. Then we decided to put it together like on a, let's say, studio project. And then we said, okay, hey, we have a record deal. Why don't we do tours? And we put a band together, and things started happening like that. No, but we never planned actually to make a project like this. No.
That's those are the best things in life that are not planned, that just seem to happen, right? It's just like,
yeah,
one thing leads to another, right?
Yeah, that's true.
That's a trip. So I mean, what was it like? Because I mean, I'm imagining at that time, you get the deal, labels like, well, you got a tour to support it. You put together probably an incredible band. I mean, what was it like transitioning from basically file sharing to now you're on the road? I mean, what was that experience like?
I mean, for us, it was part of our dream, you know. I mean, we finally got a record deal, not even in Peru. I mean, in the UK, and suddenly they are actually hooking us with agents for Europe, for the US, and they're all interested in putting tours together. And I mean, that's for me and for the rest of the project, of the guys on the project. I mean, it was like our dream come true, you know, finally, you know. And but it was, I mean, it came when I had already other stuff going on. I mean, probably if it came like, I don't know, 5 or 10 years, well, 10 no, but 5 years before or whatever, I will get my backpack and just go out and tour the whole world, you know, nonstop. But some of us had jobs and stuff, you know, so, but we managed to balance it and make it work together. And yeah, we put a band together. It was, in the beginning, it was really hard because I mean, we mix a lot of electronics and like percussion instruments and live singings and then we did a lot of, you know, production tricks, let's say, in the studio, and suddenly we had to try to put all that live, you know. So it was kind of tricky in the beginning, but yeah, we called a lot of the musicians. We invited like percussionists and the lead singer that they recorded a lot of the songs in the album, and we started. I put the beats on some sequencers and stuff, and started jamming and trying to get a sound out of it, you know. And yeah, it came together out. I mean, it took some time, but it came out really cool.
No, that's and I know what you mean, like playing in a live setting and you're trying to get the electronics and you might have a loop here and a special
Yeah,
part here. And it's like, is that tough? You know, making it all work with the band and then making sure that you can hear and you know, how do you work
yeah.
that out?
I mean, we've tried a lot of things basically, but at the end, you need good monitoring because everybody needs to listen to the beats, and at the end you get I mean accustomed to playing with the beat, no. And what we actually like is that the electronics is like one more instrument in Novalima. It's not like a house music and just some, I don't know, percussion on top. It's basically like another instrument of the 7 or 8 instruments on every track. And on the live show, it's actually 7 musicians. So I actually do the electronics and I do it live. So we actually we can stop or jam and do things like that, and with the electronics without having to be like playing on top of a beat, you know.
Yeah.
So that's something we really like. I basically use like live and some MIDI controllers and well, with all the rehearsals and gigs we've already done. I mean, now it's like normal to us. But yeah, it took a lot of time to make it sound real and not just something trying to put together and something like a machine, you know, something like that.
Oh, I totally know what you mean. Yeah. No. It's like when you're trying to play with loops and it's pre-recorded and I don't know, the laptop malfunctions. It's like, oh man,
Yeah.
but it seems like you evolved over time. You're like, okay, if we do it live, like a hybrid and have the triggers, then it's well, at least you can control it live.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, that's cool. So, I mean, what was the response from like that first tour? You know, when you did you start off touring in Europe or Latin America? Or?
First tour was in Europe. Yeah, we started in Europe. Actually, that album that was released by this label in the UK, it did really good. I mean, regarding reviews and I'm talking about 2005. So you would actually sell CDs in stores. You have Virgin Records and all the big record stores in Europe and I mean in London, in Paris, everywhere. And yeah, it did really good. We got really good reviews. We were like on the top picks of the record stores, and in those times we also had a lot of charts, even in the US, not like the CMG charts and stuff that they were really important, let's say, or I mean, if you did good on a CMG chart, you will sell a certain amount of copies, you know, and so yeah, it was really good, and that album actually made us known around the world. This label actually sub-licensed it to a label in the US. It was also released through a label in France, somewhere else I don't remember, in Germany, and yeah, it did really good. And that's how actually we got agents and we started touring like in festivals and clubs around the world. No?
Hey, this is Jeff. I'd like to take a second and tell you about this channel. I really encourage you to hit the subscribe button. This really helps out the channel, helps it grow. And also, if you can like and put your comments for this video, that'd so much be appreciated. This really helps me to continue to book amazing artists that hopefully inspire you and continue to grow this channel. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just imagining you guys right out of the box, just like connecting, because your music is so it's everywhere. You know what I mean? It's like it's so worldwide and it's so broad and amazing that I imagine like I can't imagine you guys playing in a crowd being like, I don't get it. I see you guys really pulling the crowd. I mean, is that how you saw it happening?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, every show ends up like a big party. Everybody's dancing, even if they don't know our music. No, I mean, when you play like in world music festivals or electronic festivals, I don't know, in some part of the world, probably 90% of the people that are watching you, they have never heard you before. So, but even if they haven't listened to us before, they all at the end they're all dancing at the show. No, and it's pretty cool. So I think I mean, that's something that's been probably every show we ever played. So that's part of what we actually do live, and I think that's been part of why people really connect really fast. No?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I could see it working anywhere in the world, and like you said, it's a party, but it's also like this amazing soulful thing that it's just so cool and it's so easy to get into. I mean, what's your process like when you know, take for a song like Machete, which I love that song. How do you make a song like that, man? It sounds awesome.
I mean, actually, the chorus it's part of an old traditional melody the slaves used to sing in Peru. So and it's been like kept through time. But basically, I mean, in general, the songs we start with some ideas, usually to like a beat and something melodic, bass or guitar or something, and then we start imagining, okay, what could go cool with this beat, for example, no, and sometimes we decide, okay, maybe I don't know, this type of singer, and maybe a guy that raps on this part, and maybe we'll try some, you know, piano or whatever, you know, and we usually start create. I mean, we create the song while we produce it most of the times. So we'll come with an idea, and then, for example, I will say, okay, I'm gonna record some percussions and go into the studio, call this, I don't know, cajon player, and playing this idea on a loop like for 30 minutes and just recording, you know, as I say, playing and play different ideas you have, and then I will take all these recordings to my studio, choose the parts I like. Sometimes it will be just a little loop or whatever, and start composing, keep on creating the song with that, you know, and then until we get to the vocals, for example. So we put together a lyric, we have an idea of the melodies, and then we also bring the vocalist to the studio and start improvising and trying a lot of ideas until we get to, I don't know, something we feels good. No? So it's actually creating the music while recording, I would say, jamming sessions in a sense, no? And starting and then choosing from that, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like you said, you're recording for 30 minutes. That's a jam. And it's like you're feeling it as you go, you're kind of carving it out as you go, and then you bring in the vocalist. I mean, how do you get into your zone? Like when you go to the studio, you know, I imagine, you know, you first go to your studio session the beginning of the day or whatever time you get there, you're trying to transition from the real world into this almost, you know, spiritual place that's just pure love and music. How do you get into your zone and just like dive in?
I mean, well, I have a small studio in my house, mainly for production. And it's, as you say, it's my place where I actually escaped from real life, let's say. No, I mean, and once you get in there, it's also, I mean, acoustic, so it's silent inside, so you disconnect from the sounds of the city. And but yeah, and it's a place where I start creating. So that's where I actually forget about real life and start just in the creation process that actually, I mean, it's like an escape for me. So, I mean, that's when I work, and usually I work alone on my studio, you know? And but when I record, usually we work on a bigger studio. And then, I mean, what I like, I mean, it's also, for me, once you go into a studio, you always disconnect from real world and go into this, I don't know, place where there's no time or anything, and you just, it's a space where you're gonna start creating, you know? So when I do it with other artists, like when I call a percussionist or whatever, and or a vocalist, and we get to a studio to record, usually I try, before we start recording, to create a vibe with the artist, you know? And in a sense, I mean, sometimes, most of the times I will take some, I don't know, pisco or some type of drink, to have a drink before, to get relaxed or whatever, and or smoke a joint with them, or and talk a lot until we get into the vibe. Then I show them my ideas, and then I tell them, okay, I've been thinking of these ideas, why don't you try some stuff, you know? And they just make them record and record and record. I mean, the good thing now is that recording is, let's say, free, no? I mean, before you had like tapes, and it was really expensive, and if you record a lot of times, the tape, I mean, the quality of the sound went down and stuff. So now, I mean, you can record hours and then choose, you know, and that's something really good for producing and creating music.
Oh, absolutely. It just comes down to how many hard drives you got.
Yeah.
We'll just back it up. But that's so cool, man. I can really see the environment that you're talking about, just kind of getting into that space, relaxing, get to relate to the other artists, and then, you know, getting in, but after you kind of reach that like relaxed feeling, and then you go for it.
Yeah, for me, the artists, I mean, for me and for the other three producers on the band, the artists we usually invite to record, I mean, we look, I mean, for every song, we try to imagine, for example, what vocalists would sound they're good or whatever we want to try. But then on the style we decide we want to try stuff, we try to look for artists that have a kind of roots sound. Usually, we don't like modern. For example, if I'm gonna call a guy that plays saxo, I won't go a guy like Kenny Loggins, you know, or whatever this guy is. So we try to, I don't know, that's the music we like usually, roots music, and so we try to get musicians with an old sound and a unique sound on their instrument, you know, and that's a lot why you say that it sounds with kind of like soul music, because actually a lot of the Afro-Peruvian music, it's I remember in a review in London, they say it's the Peruvian blues, you know, because basically it's music that came started from the slaves in Peru, and then it got mixed with the Spanish guitar and the percussions they actually invented, but it's music that started on the fields, you know, so it's the same type of music.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I was going to ask you about, I'm so happy that you talked about that, because I wanted to know more about the Afro-Latin music, you know, feel and vibe from Peru. Like, that's, I mean, where does it start? Where does it come from?
I mean, regarding Afro-Peruvian music, it started, I mean, there's like 3 towns or small cities on the coast of Peru where they actually brought these people from Africa to work the lands as slaves. And that's where it started, the Afro-Peruvian music. Actually, when they brought them, they actually banned them to play percussions and drums, because they said it was like a devil's music. And yeah, you're talking about Spanish owners of the fields. Okay, and they brought these slaves from Africa basically to work the lands, and they were treated like slaves in the US or whatever, you know, and they were banned to play music and have instruments. So at night, they will actually start playing music with things like normal stuff, you know, and that's where they invented the cajon. The cajon was a wooden box that they used to collect the harvest, and at night they started using it as a percussion instrument.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, and there's also 2 more instruments. The other one they use the donkey's jaw, you know, the jaw of a donkey, and they use it like a scraper. And they also like a vibratone, like something like that.
Yeah.
And the other one is a little box called the cajita, which is a little wooden box that you can actually open it and close it. Yeah. And you also have a stick no, and that was used to collect money on the churches, and then they use it as an instrument, you know.
Man, isn't that
Yeah,
cool? Like just how it all starts and where it goes. I just find that so interesting. And I mean, these are all practical things that were going on, and then they turn in the instruments, which to me, I think it gives it even more soul. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, definitely.
man.
And then they actually mixed it with a Spanish guitar, no, the acoustic Spanish guitar, and that's where they started mixing the. That's where the real Afro-Peruvian music is. That's an ensemble, no? The guitar and percussions.
Man, that's so cool. So, I mean, growing up, I'm sure you were listening to all kinds of, I mean, what were your first memories of just connecting with music and you're like, oh man, I can't get this music out of my head.
I mean, actually, in general, when I was a kid in Peru, we would listen to American music. So the first music I really connected was my first album was a Kiss album, the Kiss Dynasty.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I had like 8 years old. I bought the vinyl, I remember.
Nice.
And then I went into AC/DC and Iron Maiden and death metal, and then I went to punk and hardcore and progressive music. And yeah, so usually, I mean, most of the kids in Lima, except, for example, will listen to American music or European music, but rock and roll and stuff like that. And traditional music, especially Afro-Peruvian music, it's been related usually with like some traditional parties. So it's more like a party music of certain traditions during the year, and that was it basically. I mean, you wouldn't listen to it on the radio, or it was just party music
Yeah.
for certain traditional feasts, you know. And the other music you have in Peru is from the Andes, you know, more like pan pipes and Andean music, and it's also mixed with other styles, but usually, I mean, traditional music is being related with traditional cultures. So in Peru, like in a lot of South America, you got a lot of racism. So it was not like popular music. It's not the music you will listen on the radio.
Right.
So you turn the radio in Peru, you listen to 80s rock, for example, a lot, or things like that. Oh, now a lot of reggaeton. No, but
Yeah. That's a trip, man. But it's so cool how like all these things kind of merge together in your musical experience growing up. You had the 80s rock, but you also have these
yeah,
traditional things going on at the same time, and you're pulling it all in at the same time.
yeah, yeah, that's true.
Man,
Yeah, actually, no, Lima, it's a mix of all that, you know, and also the other musicians, each of them have their own backgrounds. So it's actually a mix of all of us and all the music we've heard before and all the bands and stuff we did before, and it's just putting it together without thinking of how should it sound. Just we're thinking of how, I mean, what works on this song, you know, and just play it, you know.
just go with it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Man,
yeah.
that is so interesting because I mean it's like all these different things pulling at the same time, and you just see where it go. I mean, what's the music scene like now in Lima? I mean, is it like different music genre scenes? I mean, what does it look like?
Yeah, now there's a lot of new stuff. I mean, even the new generations of musicians, they're a lot better now. There's a lot of music schools now, so they're really good. I mean, they're all taught and they've learned jazz and a lot of styles. And now you get a lot of different bands. I think the younger generations now do a lot of mixtures of rock or whatever with traditional Peruvian music, which is really good. No, before us, I mean, I remember when I was a kid, there was a rock band that mixed with Andean music, and it was really good. But I mean, probably one or two.
Yeah.
And when Novalima came, I mean, together we were like the first, let's say, modern project that was mixing Afro-Peruvian music, traditional Afro-Peruvian music. No? Now you find a lot of different projects. There's a lot of jazz and Afro-Peruvian rock and Andean music and a lot of reggae bands. I mean, yeah, there's a nice scene now. A lot of other projects actually now are going out and touring the world and releasing their music around. And so, yeah, it's opened a lot.
It sounds interesting. It sounds interesting. Kind of like Brazil, you know, they've got same thing. They've got all this rock, jazz.
Yeah. Well, Brazil is a continent, man. I mean, it's huge and musically also, you know. I mean, there's so much music that came out of there that I mean, even if you go now, there's a lot of new modern music that only Brazilian people know. And but I mean, if you have fans there, you can have millions of fans because it's so big. But the electronic scene there is amazing. The hip hop scene is amazing, and they also have all this traditional stuff. I mean, it's great. Yeah.
Oh, I bet. I can only imagine. But for you guys, I mean, I know you played the world, but I'm imagining you guys, you get going, you got the deal, you go on tour, and what was it like to come back after going abroad to all these different countries, to come back to Peru and like play for your home country? I mean, what was that like?
I mean, it's always good, but I think people react. I mean, they get crazier abroad than in Peru, in our
Really?
shows. Yeah. I mean, the Peruvian people, the Latins in general, they think more of what people think of you. So, I mean, it takes more time to liberate them and start moving. You know, when we play, for example, I don't know, in Germany or whatever, they don't even know how to dance the music we do, but you start playing the first note and they start moving, just moving. You know.
I love it.
And here it takes a little bit more. I mean, for the first, I mean, after we did, I think the first year we did a huge summer tour. It was like 30 dates, no, 22 dates in 25 days. Okay, and half of them were in Europe, half of them in the US. So we played every day, literally. And we did, I mean, some big shows, some big festivals, 10,000 people, whatever. And I mean, the tour, I mean, we're playing great after 20 shows. They're like perfect, you know, and yeah, it was an amazing tour. And we got into Peru and we played. And we were like on the third, fourth song, and people were not crazy yet. And we were like, what the fuck is happening, you know? At the end, they connect themselves and it's a big party anyway. But yeah, that was the first surprise. That it took us more time during the show to make a move, you know?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But I imagine by now in Peru, they know you guys well, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
They're
mean,
probably all
but
over.
anyway, we're not a pop band, let's say, in Peru. I mean, we're known. We play big festivals, but more on the cultural side. I mean, we're not, as I tell you, the radios in Peru probably won't play, you know, Lima or almost or at all. I will say, yeah, you will listen to our music in restaurants and bars and clubs and things like that. But on TV a lot, you know, on, I don't know, whatever documentaries or whatever. But it's not like popular music, you know? So. But yeah, we played a lot of huge festivals and stuff. But we're not like the most known band, let's say, in Peru, no, or things like that.
Oh, for sure. But definitely, I mean, I just see wherever you guys go, if they don't know, they're gonna know. They're gonna understand how talented. But like, take me through that. I mean, like when you first started playing those festivals and you're looking out in the sea of people of 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 people, I mean, do you adjust to it? Do you just get up on stage and say, hey man, I'm just do what I always did? It's just a bigger crowd. Like, how do you handle it?
I think the crowds, I mean, the size won't change much. I mean, I think 100, 200 people or 300 or 500 or whatever. The feeling, I think, is the same before. Maybe, I mean, if it's bigger, it can get more tense a little bit, but I don't know. For me, I mean, depends on the space. If it's a club, if you have more than 250 people, you will make a nice party. Everything on top of that is great. And if it's a bigger space, I mean, once you have, I don't know, 2,000 people, it's almost the same feeling as having 8,000 or whatever, you know. I mean, you see more people, but what you feel there, the connection with 2,000 is a great gig, you know, anymore. So, yeah, but I think there's a special feeling once you're on stage and you connect with, I don't know, 10,000 instead of 1,000. I think you feel it on stage. I mean, after a song, like, and it's, I mean, a huge crowd. So that probably makes the show, I mean, more intense and more intense. No, usually the connection with the people makes the show better. No, if the people are happy, the show gets better, and it's like a loop. You know, so yeah, I think big stages have this special thing of I mean, when they are connected, it's a lot of people connected. No, so it's really cool.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm just imagining because I'm sure, you know, and I've seen some of the shows online, and I'm just thinking, you know, I mean, is there ever a point where you're playing a song on stage and the band just sounds so good along with you, and it's almost like you're floating, this is so good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
For the
yeah.
people
I
that
mean,
don't know, what's that like? What's that about? Like as a, you know, as an
I
artist.
think it's a lot of things. I mean, once depends on the day also. I think there's some days on the tours that actually everybody's connected and that show is really good. I mean, but one of the things that, I mean, if you're good rehearsals or you're playing a lot, usually the songs sound good, no? So you're tight. So that's probably one of the things. And the other thing is that the sound of the stage is good.
Yeah.
If the monitoring is good and you feel contact better and you feel a gig better inside. Maybe outside it sounds great, but it also depends on how you're feeling it inside. And that depends on how good the monitoring is, no? Basically.
And how do you energize yourself? I mean, I think you said, you know, we were talking just a little bit ago. It's like you guys did over 30 shows in 25 days. Like, how do you stay energized and focused, you know, with that kind of run?
I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy. I mean, through the years, we've learned how to manage these type of things a lot better. That time it was crazy because we were really new on touring and we almost lost planes and stuff, which can be critical. But at the end, we managed to make every show and we did it. But I mean, you sleep 4 hours a day at the most. So through a month, you know, of playing, partying, traveling, interviews, and just keep on going, keep on going, keep on going, keep on going. So it's, yeah. Now, for example, 15 years later, I mean, if there's not a nice plan, we'll go to sleep, you know, and you start, I mean, taking a little bit more control of your time and your body and your health, but so it works flows better, no? But anyway, it's hard. It's hard. I mean, you have to
Yeah.
like it, and I think, I mean, because it's a really tough. I mean, a tour starts like a year or a year and a half before, no? And booking and then getting the visas and booking all the trips and I mean organizing everything and going to the show and sound check and I mean all the stuff just for an hour or 2 hours on a stage, you know, and then the next day and the next day. So I mean that hour on a stage actually it's worth it. But what I was gonna say is that probably if you're not on the stage, it's really hard to keep in that type of work, you know, traveling all days and sleeping 40 hours and stuff, you know.
Yeah. I mean, how do you do it? Like, say, like if you're doing a long run and you got a show coming up that night and you know, maybe it's the afternoon, you're like, man, I'm tired. Like, how you get into it?
Usually it's like that. I mean, we have a drink or something. Yeah. That's when you learn why a lot of musicians end up with drinking problems or whatever, you know, because a way to keep this type of life is actually, I mean, and then everybody expects you be happy on the stage, you know, and moving and everything. Not a guy like really tired and stuff. So most of the things times is that way, you know. I mean, but usually, yeah, we will have a drink or two just before going up, and then we'll go up, and then I mean, with the energy and everything, you forget about that you're tired and you haven't sleep. And once you go down the stage, you're so hyped up that you can't go to sleep right after. So usually you go out for a drink or whatever, and then I mean that's why you sleep like 3 hours or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you learn to sleep everywhere. I mean, 2 hours on the plane, 1 hour in the hotel, 1 hour in the taxi, I mean everywhere.
No, but I know what you mean. It's like when you get that adrenaline, you'd be surprised how far adrenaline can take. When you're excited about something,
Yeah, yeah,
adrenaline can really
yeah,
carry you, you know.
yeah, yeah. Once you go down, I mean, off the stage, it's really hard. I mean, you need at least a couple of hours before trying to sleep. You know, at least. I mean,
Hey, so tell me about the song Herahia. Man, I love that song. How did you guys come up with that? What's the story behind that?
herejía is heresy. You know, something prohibited. I don't remember how we started. I think Rafael, the other guys, came up with an idea of the beat, and then he gave it to me, and I put it more on a song structure and came up with the guitar sample with this filter. And then he came up with a melody for the vocals and the lyrics. So yeah, we just started working on top of it, and yeah, it came. I don't know, it came out just as the other songs, man.
Man, how do you know when a song is done? You guys put on all the tracks, you lay down this track, the drums, the guitar, vocals, effects, and oh, let's add this in. How do you know it's like, okay, I think this is right?
For me, it's really hard. Usually, I tend to overproduce, and actually, what we do is at the end. I mean, we work each other's songs. So I mean, we'll get together and comment on each other's songs. So that's one of the first filters we have. And then usually no, all the albums we've worked with this guy in London. So like that's the final mixing and sometimes the final producing. Usually taking stuff out more than producing. But yeah, that will be like the final. We'll take the songs there, even if we feel that they're not 100% finished, and then we will do the final work with the guy, and he would give like another view, and maybe just mixing some of the songs. He will take out stuff or change something and do some production, But that's a way of actually finishing a song, because it's really hard for a producer to decide when something is finished. I mean,
yeah.
And the other way I do is actually I mix a lot of my projects and listen to them in my car or whatever, and then I will stop working on a song and maybe listen to it a lot, and after a week or something I'll say, hey, I think maybe this is finished, I won't do anything else, but yeah, usually it's hard. We tend to produce more stuff and record more instruments, and usually the simple stuff is the better stuff, I mean.
So it's just about putting everything in there that you think you might need, but then taking it out and just finding that right balance.
Yeah.
And
but if I didn't have that final process, probably it would be harder, because I'll have to decide when to stop and do the final mix,
I mean, it could go on forever, right? It could be infinity, digital.
Yeah.
So that's great. So you kind of go away from it and come back to it, and then you kind of know what feels right. And I always want to share that with the audience, because I think that definitely artists out there, we all go through it. It's like we overthink sometimes, and it's like, I mean, how do you get out of that like analysis where it's like it's got to be perfect, and then it's just like, no, this is good enough? Like, what's your advice?
Usually I stop working on it and maybe start working on other stuff and just start listening to a mix for the next week or whatever, and then usually once you listen it after a few days, I think you see it differently, and you start thinking, hey, maybe it's already, I mean, it's good. What else should I put on it? That could be a way. I mean, but yeah, usually I stop and I work on other stuff.
That's smart. That's smart. Get your mind off it. Keep it moving. Keep the mind moving. Man.
The same thing when I'm stuck on a song, and I won't create anything cool on top of it, and I'm like trying. I will say, okay, stop, leave it there, and just go to other stuff, and maybe come back after a week or 2 weeks or whatever, and usually it flows again.
I'm happy you say that, because I think a lot of people, they see someone like yourself and the band, and they say, you know what, they just got it like that, and I don't have it, and they don't realize like you have a process that you've gotten down over time, but it's not like you just were like a kid and picked up an instrument suddenly, like, I think that's what a lot of people from the outside don't understand, but it is a process.
Yeah, and I think as any other process, you need to learn tricks to actually make it work, and be efficient and get stuff done and everything, because if not, I mean, you end up with 1,000 ideas, but you never release anything and you never do anything with your stuff, and I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of musicians keep in that loop that just keep on creating stuff, but they don't finish it, they don't share it, they don't try to make a final product or try to release it themselves or with somebody or whatever, and time passes, and then I don't know, that's it. It's your own music for you,
Yeah, I mean, what would you say to them that for the artists out there that just, they're more concerned about what other people think than what they feel about the music, their music?
I mean, I think the first thing is to try to make music you like, when you try to make music that you think is gonna be a hit, or that you think a lot of people will like it, you will make. I mean, it's really hard. You won't do it. I mean, just stuff that, I mean, it won't be worth it. So I think the most important thing is to make music that you feel, and then show it. And if people like it, great. If not, well, maybe I mean, it's your rare style and you like it, it's good for you, and that's it. But I think the second step of showing it is very important, and so, and then I think you just have to write people, cook with people, make it, I mean, show it. I mean, that's actually how we started, man. I mean, Novalima, I mean, this record label that I was telling you that signed us our first album. When I was living in Barcelona one day, I was on the metro, and I was reading this free newspaper they give. It's called the Metro, actually. And there was this review of this album of flamenco mixed with electronic music, compilated by this DJ based in London called Martin Morales, which it said that was Peruvian born. So I'm like, wow. So I remember I got to my house and I Google his name, and suddenly he comes out, a couple articles or webs or whatever, and he was an A&R of this label in London, and doing compilations for a lot of labels, and there was an email there. So I decided, hey, I'm gonna write the guy, and I wrote him an email, and hey, I'm Grimaldo, I'm from Peru, and we have this project with 3 other guys. We mix Afro-Peruvian music with electronic, blah blah blah. I mean, 2 minutes later, he writes me back, man. Hey, Grimaldo, I love Afro-Peruvian music, man. Please show me your stuff, So I called my friend that was living in London, the other guy, and I said, hey, you have to go to the office of this guy and show him our music. So he goes to the office the next day, and it's a Virgin, building, and I remember he showed him the demo of the stuff we were working on, and he's like, wow, man, I mean, I love Afro-Peruvian music. I always wanted a project that mixes this with like modern styles, and I love this thing, man. I want it. I'm gonna sign it, but we need a good guy to do the final mix and make it sound really good and stuff. And he actually hooked us up with a guy that's worked all the albums now with us. This guy in London, Yeah, and we mixed the first album there. He actually produced and mixed it, and he signed it in this label, and that's where we released our first album and everything, man. But just for an email, man. Just for an email.
See, that goes back to just like when you share, you put it out there in the world, right?
And I'm talking, that's previous of Instagram, Facebook. I mean, no socials, no anything. We're talking about emails and the first, cellular phones, not intelligent phones, no smartphones, It's not like now that you can actually hook everybody through whatever, Instagram or whatever. It's even easier, probably,
Yeah, man. See, it's just say yes. Just give it a try. Just put it out there. I mean, I think that's so inspiring. And to me, it's like not only that, but where, you took a chance and all the things that happened, and then you were nominated for Latin Grammy. I mean, tell me what's that like, man? That's a huge thing.
Yeah, that was, a great surprise for us. For me personally, it was like, wow, man, maybe this thing we're doing, it's worth it, or I don't know, it's appreciated in the world or something like that. I mean, I know even the Grammys are kind of like more pop stuff, and even the Latin Grammys, but for us it was a big surprise being nominated. Actually, it was for the first best alternative album, and the other 4 guys were like more rock alternative bands, Latin, very good ones.
Yeah.
So we were like the rare style there. But yeah, it was really interesting, man, and it was probably the first time that they nominated on a Latin Grammy a band like Novalima, no? So it was pretty cool.
I mean,
we got to go to Las Vegas and walk through the carpet and stuff like that, and to the after party and stuff. It's pretty interesting.
What does that feel like to be amongst all, so many of your favorite artists and your peers, to be, recognized? It must be fantastic, right?
Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And I love the pre-parties and after parties because you got to mix with a lot of musicians and producers, and there I met a lot of interesting people, It was pretty cool.
I can only imagine. And that takes me to Exodus. Man, I love it, man. How'd you guys put that together? How'd that come about?
That song, actually, we have it like at least 8 years ago. I mean, we started before. We got contacted by this organization from Bono, from U2, called one.org.
Okay.
And they were contacting bands around the world because they were doing a campaign. They wanted the bands to record what was it? A Bob Marley song on an acoustic version on the street or whatever. So we decided to do Exodus, and we just got some instruments and went into the Bohemian part of Lima and decided just to do like a live show there, you know, and we took like 2-3 camera guys and the instruments and just got there and played like 4 or 5 songs. And a lot of people that walked through actually stopped it there, and it made like a live show on the street, you know. And we recorded, one of the songs was Exodus, and that video with the song came out on the website and on I think it was a iTunes channel or whatever they had of the org thing. So after that, we liked it. I mean, the cover we did, because we did it in Spanish, and the next tour we started jamming it live, actually. So we did a live version of this Exodus cover, no, but more with electronic stuff, and people loved it on the tour. So on the next album, we decided, hey, why don't we try to record the live version we're doing and see what happens, you know? So we did it, but at the end we decided not to include it on that album. I don't know why. And it was just there.
No.
And like 8 months ago, I don't know, hey, remember Exodus, man? And we listened to the track and it's, man, it's really cool. And actually we opened the project again and did some new production. We took some stuff out actually, and did a new mix and decided, hey, just release it as a single. No? The label loved it, and that's how it came out. But it was like, I don't know, 8 years after the song was recorded and 12 years after the song we played the first on the street, you know? Yeah.
But that's another, I think, valuable lesson for the audience. It's like sometimes, you know, music stands the test of time. And if it was good 12 years ago, good now, right? I mean, it's like, right?
Yeah. I mean, Machete has almost 20 years, man.
Yeah.
And you could play it anywhere right now, and it's a cool song. Sounds cool. I mean, even the production, the sound. No? So I think, as you said, I mean, the good music for me in general is the one that after time it sounds great. I mean, and you'll find it on every style. No? I mean, jazz, in rock, in reggae, even in reggaeton, you know, probably there's great reggaeton guys that will last forever. 1 or 2%, but they will be.
Good, good. You know, it's going to stand the test of time. And I think it just goes back, you know, just believing in what you've got, putting it out there. Good music will stand the test. And I also want to go back and ask you about Machete, because it was part of the movie. How'd that work out?
The movie was later, actually. So when our label heard about this movie that they were putting together by Robert Rodriguez, he actually contacted the producers, and they loved the song. So, I mean, they were already calling their movie Machete, so they said it's a perfect match. And they said, yeah, let's put it on it, you know. And it was great. I mean, the movie was expected to be a bigger blockbuster than what it was actually. But that scene is really known because it's where the Lindsay Lohan and the other girl going to the pool with Machete, you know, and they get in a threesome. So that's where the song starts, you know. So everybody remembers the scene and the song, you know.
Man, that's a perfect fit, perfect name.
Yeah.
Perfect fit. Man, that's awesome. That's awesome. Do you feel like you guys got a lot of like new fans from the movie?
Yes, definitely. When we play that song on festivals and stuff, a lot of people don't relate Novalima with that song, but they've heard it on the movie. So when we play it, oh, you're the guys that played that song Machete. Yeah. So and we actually, you know, for that song, once they hire us for a private party in Dubai, this Russian agency wrote us and said that they want to hire us for a private party in Dubai, you know. And we're like, yeah, but all the way to Dubai just for one party. Tell us more about the gig. You know how many people and stuff. And no, it's a private party of I think there were like 12, 12 women. We're like, what? You're joking or what? You know? And no, yeah, it's a private party and it's a birthday party, and the birthday girl loves one of her songs, Machete, and she wants you there for this event. It was a sunset cocktail stuff, you know. And so, I mean, we thought it was kind of a joke or whatever. So we said, okay, let's, I mean, ask for what we never asked before, you know, for a fee, and plus tickets, first class tickets and everything, you know. And they, okay, we'll send you the tickets. We're like, wow. So we flew all the way there, and it was actually this birthday party of this Russian woman. She was turning 45, millionaire. I mean, married to this millionaire guy. Oh, yeah. These friends of Putin, probably. He owned a communication company or something like that, a phone company. And she invited her best 11 friends for a week in Dubai to celebrate her birthday. You know? And one of the celebrations was this sunset cocktail on this, you know, this 7-star hotel on the beach that is like I mean, the best hotel in Dubai. They closed the beach, the bar, and they did this like lounge, and Novalima played for the sunset there for 12 girls.
Wow.
And that was just for the sunset. Then they had like a dinner. The next day they had lunch somewhere, and the dinner on the desert. And every show, I mean, everything on the week had a different musician from some part of the world. So they were flying, yeah, another world, you know, I mean, another reality. But yeah,
I mean, that must be an experience you'll never forget, getting flown out to Dubai for 12 people.
And it was all for just because of Machete, you know.
Man,
Yeah.
but a song can bring you a long ways. But you know, that's the thing I was going to ask you, Adam, because I'm imagining you guys have played such a broad audience, such a broad span around the world. Tell me, what's one of your favorite shows that comes to your mind that was just like such a good show, and you just will never forget it? It was just amazing.
There's been a lot, but for example, one I remember is the Montreal Jazz Festival in Montreal. That was amazing. Also, we played Central Park in New York. It was amazing, the summer stage. And yeah, in the US, we've done a few very cool shows because of the stages also. We played Millennium Park. You know, this huge stage is amazing.
Yes.
And I mean, there's been a lot of festivals, but also in Europe, Roskilde Festival is amazing. That's in Denmark.
Really?
That's the biggest rock festival in Europe, actually.
How did that go? Tell me about that.
That was amazing. It was, I think, it was 4 or 5 stages. There was the big stage where Coldplay was playing that night, and we played on another stage. It was like 15,000 people anyway, but it was amazing. And yeah, France, Germany, we've had great gigs, great festivals and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, in Europe also, it's amazing, especially in the summer, because they do these festivals on these amazing stages, like, I don't know, in front of the sea or in a Roman, whatever, ruin, or things like this, you know, so it's pretty cool also.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting to see all these places and play your music, and I mean, getting to play in Denmark, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
how many artists get to play Denmark, you know?
Yeah, well, we played all around Europe, man. I mean, Finland and yeah, everywhere. Scotland, Switzerland.
So tell me,
Yeah,
what's that? Sorry.
No, and the US also. I mean, I've been to the US a lot of times, and before we started touring also. But now after touring, I probably know every state, man, and every city. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a big country. When you say, like, is it kind of surprising when you tour the US, like how diverse it is? Like one part is completely different from another part.
Yeah. But it's nice. I mean, especially like, I don't know, the national parks, or once you go out of the cities, there's a lot of different environments, let's say, that they're amazing, like deserts or for example, Colorado with the highlands and the mountains, and it's amazing. And
Oh,
Vermont, all that part of New York and Vermont, I mean, upstate is amazing too. And yeah, it's really nice, really
oh,
nice.
a very diverse land, no doubt about it. So tell me, I think a lot of artists, they see successful artists and bands and they say to themselves, you know what? Nova Lima just had unstoppable success and they just, the stars aligned and everything was perfect for them. Can you tell me an example in your career where you guys were still coming up to where you are today and you had a setback and how you overcame it?
I mean, if I tell you the story, it sounds like you said, like, yeah, everything was great and perfect. And probably if you ask us the real thing, we usually are complaining every day. I want to be there and I want to be there. There's something, I don't know if every musician has it, but you want to be there. And once you're there, you want to be another kilometer apart. No, so I think it's always good to learn to stop and appreciate what you got, and what worth you got it. Because if every once they ask me, but 20 years ago, I would never expected to do everything we did on music, and so I mean, I think everybody should be grateful of what you've gotten, but yeah, we have this thing that we always want more, and and usually, for example, for us, what we always wanted, it will be a next step on touring. Let's say a bigger stage or a better fee that will make us that we could actually take a bigger team and do a better show. Let's say, for example, when we play on Peru or some places around South America, usually we can take more people. We will go with like a lighting guy, two sound guys, and a video DJ, BJ, and stuff. So the show is sometimes dancers and stuff. So
Nice.
it's a lot more impressive, So that's something we will probably. I mean, that's something we will always wanted to do. Go get a step upper on the touring, and then usually you can take more people and make a nicer show, and ask for a more stuff, more equipment, and more things on the stage. So, but I mean, as I tell you, I won't complain. I mean, we've toured so many places that we never thought we would go on, and it's a project that actually in general works. I mean, all the tours get paid and we get paid as musicians, and that's really hard in the music industry, and also we've worked on a lot of albums, we've worked with a lot of labels, and every time we go out and try to find a new label for our next album, usually, I mean, there's a lot of people interested, and that shows that they love what we've done before. They're, oh yeah, we heard about you, we love your music, yeah, send us stuff. And so yeah, at the end, I think, I mean, we've accomplished a lot, as I tell you, a lot more than we ever thought. But yeah, we have this thing that we always want more, and I don't know if it's normal or what, but I was talking with this other musician girl that she's kind of getting famous now, and she was telling me exactly the same thing the other day, and I don't know why I feel like this, man. I've never thought I was gonna. She just recorded for the KXP radio thing they do.
Yeah.
And she's like, I never thought I was gonna record for KXP and stuff. And then she's, but I wanna be on that tour and I wanna do this, and I feel I need, yeah, I don't know, something like that. But yeah, and at the end, I think, I mean, we're fine. We're really happy with what we got, and yeah, we want to keep, and we've done it always basically to do the music more than to get where we are, no? So I think that's the thing for me, it's just keep on doing what we're doing, and yeah, maybe it will come,
Yeah, and appreciating what you've got because you guys have done so much, and that I know the audience loves that, because I think it's just like one of those things. It's to get to where you're trying to go, you've got to appreciate the journey, and it seems to me you guys are having fun the whole way, which is the way it's supposed
yeah,
to be.
yeah, that's
Well,
true.
awesome. So Grimaldo, I so much appreciate it. Tell me what's coming up for the band and you.
Well, we're working on a big European tour for next year, for the summer. We probably go to the US too to do some dates in June, and we're releasing first we're releasing on January like the deluxe version of our last album. So our last album, we did 2 EPs, La Danza EP1 and La Danza EP2. And now we're putting it all on a big album with 3 new songs and Exodus, actually. That's why we released it in the middle of it. But yeah, so that's gonna be out on January, La Danza Deluxe Edition. And then for the summer, we'll do a 4-song EP of new stuff that we're working on.
Man, I can't wait to hear it, man. I love everything I've heard so far.
Great, man.
Yeah,
Cool.
and where can everybody find out more about Novalima?
Well, on the Instagram, Novalima Officials, or Facebook, the same thing. And we're on Spotify and on all of like iTunes and every other digital platform. And there we also have a website, novalima.net. But yeah, you probably Google and you'll find it somewhere else, somewhere.
Awesome, man. Well, I so much appreciate you being on the show, man. It was an honor, privilege, and I'm very inspired. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you for the interview.